Hello everybody! So how big is your NuGet cache? This is Stef from Samayas and welcome to my channel. Well, mine is roughly 4.4 gigabytes. Every time you get a NuGet package, that gets cached locally, for performance reasons, and that's a good thing of course. Instead of re-downloading package X, like for instance Microsoft.ASP.NET Core, for your 5 projects that you reference, you only download it once. So you save on bandwidth, and so does NuGet.org. However, over time, this local cache keeps growing and growing and growing. Today, you might be at version 2.40, but yesterday it might have been version 2.23, and last month it might have been version 2.22. A quick scan in my NuGet folder reveals me that I roughly have 600 unique NuGet packages. So, but having a local cache version isn't an issue, right? No, in essence, it's not. However, over time, this cache keeps growing and growing and growing. And so all previous versions still stay on the system. In general, and only in exceptional conditions, do we need or are we still using previous packages. However, our local cache keeps every of the previous version we have downloaded at one time, without any cleanup or cache management. Now, of course, we have the nuclear options. We can just delete the whole folder. And that fixes it, right? Well, yes, that fixes it. But then, every time, we need to re-download all the packages that we need. And then, of course, we do lose the advantage of using local cache. So what would then be the middle ground? Well, that will be some kind of cache management service that cleans up older versions of a package. So let's dig in. So as you can see, I'm in my NuGet directory, and under that I have my cache of all my packages. If I click on properties, I have roughly 4.4 gigabytes. Now if we go to and have a look in, if for instance I first look at asp.versioning, I have one version in here, which is version 8. If however look at, I can have 10 versions, where the earliest version is 1.7 and the latest version is 1. Of course, the nuclear option is just to shift delete. But then again, I lose PowerScripts. I built my list of all folders for each of the previous versions. So as you can see, I started building out a small script. I define a variable, which is my root variable, where my packages are located. Then I also define, should that be necessary, and I loop through all my, and then I'll loop through all the subdirectories with packages root. I include a where class, include all folders in the version list, and then for each of the directories retrieved packages folder, I retrieve the full name, I retrieve the name, and I build a new variable called version folders, where I init folders in my package folder name. I match major, minor, and hotfix, and if my version must contain something, I forward on all those versions. I retrieve the latest version, I retrieve a list of all my previous versions, and then the latest version without any previous, or just a label with package, my package, or just a label with my pen and no previous versions. And then finally build a list of all my previous versions, so I can later delete those. So let's have a run of this. And as you can see, for each of those packages found, system value tuple has a version of 5.0 and there's one subversion of 4.4.0. The tasks.extensions has a current version of 4.5.4 and we have previous versions of 4.4 going to 4.5.2. We have a working script that retrieves all our packages, that identifies and all the previous versions, The only thing missing is just delete and output the path and just recursively delete everything under the previous version. Let's rerun this. And now, as we can clearly see, after having identified all previous versions. And that takes time. That takes a while. Cleanup should have been done. File size to see if something changed. And we went from 4.4 gigabytes to 2.15 gigabytes, which is good. So let's dig in. If you now have a look at Azure Core, well, I've got my latest version, which is 47.3. So it seems to have worked. Now if I rerun my script, technically I should have all my backend with only and no previous versions, and there shouldn't be any. And now the final step I need to do, I just need to open my computer manager. I need to go to Task, Schedule Task, and in there I just need to create a task that runs every time on startup or one user is connected. So let's give it a shot. I create a basic task. And here I have the option, I can run it daily. For instance, at 12 o'clock, if I know my computer is on. I can do it weekly, once a week. I can do it whenever I log in. So for now, I'll choose weekly. Let's take Wednesdays and let's take 12 o'clock. I'm going to start a program and I just need to browse where my program is located. And so I've included the path of my cleanup. I choose next and I choose finish. And so my clean NuGet cache is created. Now if we have a look at properties, this script will run automatically when a user is logged in. And so the only thing I need to do now here is just to run it. And after a while it runs and it's finished. And now, in order not to have the package's root hard-coded anymore, I need to make some changes. And so first I insert a parameter, which is not mandatory, and by default is empty. And I have a check if my parameter is not defined or is empty. I throw an error message and I leave. And so now running it is a little bit more complex. I need to run PowerShell and I need to specify first the file and the full path. And then secondly, I need to specify the path I want to clear. And so finally, I can take away the packages and now I have a fully working modular script. And so if I go back to my scheduler, I need to make some changes to my action. And so PowerShell on my system is located in the Windows directory, in the system32 directory, in the PowerShell directory, v1, and you have PowerShell.exe. And so my first argument, -file, and now for readability, I'm using Notepad to clarify the parameters. And so my first file parameter is the location where this PS script is located, and my second package's root parameter is the location where it needs to work. Now before scheduling, first I've opened up a command prompt and I'm gonna test if this really works. So I'm copying over the PowerShell exe to my command and then I'm copying over all the parameters and let's give it a shot. And as you can see, it executed without a problem. So now let's copy over these parameters. Let's insert them here. Let's click OK. Let's confirm. And now I can rerun my clean cache. And that completed OK. So I'll include this script in my NuGet package, but my job is done. So even with just basic scripting and a bit of automation, we're able to easily fix the situation quite fast. If you guys enjoy this content, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell sign. Or leave a comment down below.